So welcome to a session on inguinal hernia. I'll also tell you how to differentiate direct from the indirect inguinal hernia. Okay, now first let us go on to this picture. If you see, there's a rectus muscle here and a rectus muscle here, and the two recti muscles are joined in the center by linea alba. And then we have three muscles here and three muscles here. These are the lateral group of muscles, and these three muscles are inserted on the lateral border of rectus here through a fascia which is known as Spigelian fascia. And this fascia is formed by the aponeurosis of the three muscles. Now, let us go on to this picture. Now, if you see to this picture you can see in the midline, this is the rectus muscle, and then we have these three lateral group of muscles, and they have the aponeurosis which combine to form the Spigelian fascia, and this is inserted on the lateral border of rectus muscle. Now, my purpose here is to show you where the hernia starts. Now, you can see here this fascia. This is the fascia transversalis, and this on top is the external oblique aponeurosis here. Now, deep inguinal ring is situated deep here, and the inguinal canal starts from the deep inguinal ring. We have deep inguinal ring, which is an opening in the fascia transversalis. So here the inguinal canal starts, and then the floor of the inguinal canal is again formed by the fascia transversalis, and then we have an opening here in the external oblique aponeurosis, which is a superficial inguinal ring. So inguinal canal starts from deep and ends at superficial inguinal ring. Deep inguinal ring is an opening in the fascia transversalis, and superficial in the external oblique aponeurosis. So if you see here, inguinal canal is just medial to the three muscles, the lateral group of muscles, and just lateral to the lateral margin of rectus muscle. So here it is. Now, let us go on to this video, and in this video, if you see carefully, this is that herniation, and if you see carefully, there are three muscles here, which are the lateral group of muscles. So where these muscles are ending close to the rectus has to be here, somewhere here, not in the picture, but you can see where these lateral group of muscles are ending, and we find this herniation, which is a herniation in the inguinal canal. Now, let us go on to more elaboration of the things. See here, as I told you, inguinal canal is here somewhere, which is roughly close to the groin crease, starting from the deep inguinal ring and up to the superficial inguinal ring. Now, before I tell you about differentiation between direct and indirect inguinal hernia, I'll tell you something about this inferior epigastric artery. Now, inferior epigastric artery is a branch of external iliac artery. And suppose I want to make out external iliac artery. What's the simplest way? The simplest way is put the probe close to the groin crease, move it a little bit down, and see the femoral artery and femoral vein, and from the femoral artery move up and As you move up, you are seeing the external iliac artery, because femoral artery is a continuation of the external iliac artery. Now, let us see here. If a herniation occurs through this deep inguinal ring, it goes like this, and maybe it reaches the superficial inguinal ring and then into the scrotum. If a herniation is directly into the inguinal canal, breaking the floor, and floor, as I told you before also, is formed by the fascia transversalis. So it is a break in the fascia transversalis through the floor and it goes into the inguinal canal like this. Then we call it a direct inguinal hernia. And remember, direct inguinal hernia is unlikely to go into the scrotum because it is going like this, directly into the inguinal canal, while indirect is going like this through the deep inguinal ring and then into the superficial, and then it may go into the scrotum. So one of the ways to differentiate between the two is that if you see the herniation going into the scrotum, it is usually indirect inguinal hernia. Now, direct and indirect are mainly differentiated by seeing this inferior epigastric artery, or I'll say inferior epigastric vessels. Why? Because indirect inguinal hernia starts lateral to the inferior epigastric vessels and direct is medial to it. Now, how to make out these vessels? Now, if you move the probe, keeping it transversely close to the umbilicus and then keep on moving down, as you approach the groin, you see these two vessels close to the midline. These are the inferior epigastric artery and inferior epigastric vein, and they are branches of their respective external iliac artery and external iliac vein. So you have to move down and then you can see external iliac artery and vein. Deep inguinal ring is close to the external iliac artery and vein. So if you find a herniation medial to it, close to the center here, it is a direct inguinal hernia. And if the origin is lateral to it, because the deep inguinal ring you can make out is lateral, then it is an indirect inguinal hernia. Clear? Okay. Now, this is very simple, and you can see here in this picture with color, external iliac artery and external iliac vein, and then these are the inferior epigastric vessels. So, herniation medial to it is direct, and the origin, if it is lateral, then it is indirect. Okay. Just see this picture, the two vessels, and it is labeled direct. What does it mean? That this is the medial side. So medial to it, bowel loops you can make out, herniation you can make out. So this is a direct inguinal herniation. Okay. Let us see this picture. Now here the vessels are seen here even without color. So the thing is that even if you don't have a Doppler, still you can recognize these vessels. They are big enough to be recognized, and once you see these vessels, find out which is the medial side, which is the lateral side. That is very simple. Close to the rectus will be the medial side, and you can make out that it is labeled indirect. What does it tell you? That this is the lateral side. So this herniation is just lateral in origin. Of course, remember this thing, that at a certain stage both may be seen medial, but the thing is origin we have to concentrate. So origin of indirect inguinal hernia is lateral. It is lateral to the inferior epigastric vessels. Again, see here in this picture, this is the inguinal canal, and right now we can see it better because of this fluid in the inguinal canal. And here this is the scrotum. The testis is here, fluid is here as well, and you can see the spermatic cord. So we are very clear that this is an inguinal canal, and you can see very clearly that this herniation is going towards the scrotum. So even without seeing the inferior epigastric vessels, I can say with nearly 100% confidence that this is an indirect inguinal hernia. So that's all. Thank you so much.